another Killer Planes video.
Down and Dirty. Tips and tricks for keeping your plane out of the shop. Starring Steve's Dirty Hands. Today, who needs FOD walkdowns? Not me.
The Hands are back, and we're here today with the belly of a jet minus the wings to show you a little trick, and it has to do with hand launching EDF jets. Believe it or not, you can get stones in here, tiny little ones, when you're landing, and they will chew up your fan blades in a flash. It's already happened to me. So the best thing to do is to try to keep from getting any stones in here, number one. And number two is check to make sure you don't have any time before you take off again, right? After you've landed, you want to make sure you don't have any little stones in here. So this is a perfect place to be scooping them up. And I think maybe we could just alleviate that with a little piece of window screen. So I happen to have some old window screen laying around, and we're going to cut a piece of that to fit under the entire plate. All right. Okay, so now I have a piece that's big enough to cover the entire plate. So what we're going to do is lay the plate on it and trace around, cut a piece out that matches the shape of the plate, and glue it on under the plate. So we're effectively going to glue the plate to the screen and glue the whole thing to the plane. All right, so the first thing we want to do is remove the plate from the plane. One other thing is, if you really want to get technical, all these little wires that make up a screen are blocking part of the space that makes the airflow. So if you put them all together, you might say that they blocked about this much space width-wise, right? So we're going to cut that out of these holes and make them bigger. We have space to the foam on the inside, on each side of the holes, so we can cut the holes on both sides, make them larger, and that'll work for us, right? So to get these things off, you just gently work them off. You stick your hands in wherever you can and start pulling them off. It's glued on, but it's not glued on with crazy glue. It's glued on with sane glue, right? Here we are. Now that's entirely off. And now we can cut our plate to match, right? So we'll just cut alongside the plate. That's easy enough. And then once you've cut a side, right, you want to tape it on to the plate so that at least it can't shift from that side that you cut already. And tape it on. And it will stay in place, right? Thank you. And then we cut some more edges. Look how easy this is. Doesn't it make you want to get all your EDFs down off the shelf right now and start messing with them? Honey, what are you doing? Watching YouTube. It sounds like you're cutting screens with scissors. How does she know that? The trick is not shift the screen around while you're cutting it. So be gentle, as they say. Cut up this side. What a cut up. So witty. And then we'll cut up this side. That's a beautiful thing. Keeping my scissor blade right next to the plastic, which assists me in my cut. All right. One remaining thread, which is all it takes. These are nylon screen, which makes them very tough. Okay, so now this is the size and shape of my plate. we can test this out, right? Before we glue it all back on, make sure it goes nicey nice, which it does. So then we want to enlarge our holes a little bit, just for the heck of it. Diet Coke. So you can see that it's clearly marked. This is my cutting board. It's just a piece of melamine. But if you try this, you'll see that this piece of melamine will last you 10 years as a cutting board. So why go crazy with crazy stuff? You know what I'm saying? Look how easy that is to cut. We are loving it. All right, so notice these two are bigger now. It's kind of a rough cut, but I'm not going to be inspecting the bottom that closely, am I? Okay, so now we gotta glue this screen onto the back of this plate. And I do that with some contact cement, plain old welders, like a bead of it around the perimeter and in the center, anywhere that we want this baby to hold on. And I rub the screen down onto it. Now, normally you got to separate things to let the contact cement dry up a bit and get tacky. But since this is a screen, now that can just sit there and get tacky. And if it hasn't completely tacked itself down, you just push it down when it gets tacky. Okay, I've tacked my wires in place with a couple of tiny strips of masking tape, and this is all ready, so I'm just going to put a bead now around this edge and press this piece into it. Love welders. It's become hard to get lately, which is, I think, rather stupid of the company. So now we're going to press our plate into the glue. Take the plate off, and we're going to let everything get tacky for 5 minutes. Okay, so I've checked my glue on my both surfaces, and it's about as tacky as duct tape, which is perfect. So we just apply this back into place. Make sure that it's where you want it the first time you set it down, because it's very difficult to move something that's contact cemented together. And so there it is. Now you have your plate back on. It's in place with some screen backing to keep the rocks from getting in there when you do belly landing with your EDF. So you can do this that easily to anything. This entire elapsed time to do this was maybe 15 minutes. And that's really good to be able to protect your EDF fans. Yeah, baby. So, see you on the flight line, right? Or actually, out in the hand launch field.
Woohoo!